And welcome to Fox News Sunday Panel Plus with Brit Hume, Mara Liasson, Kimberly Strassel, and Juan Williams. Well, some of us are just back from the 2-week Bataan Death March, 16 days on the road, trying to get your laundry done. And you folks, you can't believe how terrible the security was. And you'd have one where they had barriers all over Tampa and Charlotte, and one day you'd figure out your way to get in, and the next day that would be completely closed off, and you'd have to figure another way. It was actually pretty exhausting. And more importantly, the question becomes, in this world of 24/7 and Twitter, and does a 4-day, 3-day, 2-day, or any kind of convention make sense anymore?
Well, certainly not a 4-day. I think that's gone. Democrats never planned it. Republicans had to cancel their first day, and I don't think anybody missed it. 3-day conventions may be a thing of the past. It may come down to just 2. And the question then becomes, is it worth spending what we've spent as organizations? News organizations to cover these in the way we've always covered them, and I think the answer is probably no, that there'll be some reinvention between now and the next round of this by both the parties and by the people who cover them. And if we don't cover them extensively, they'll shrink on their own.
Well, I mean, the fact is we, in a general sense, don't cover them because now you've got the broadcast networks
down to an hour.
So anything that happens before 10 o'clock Eastern, unless you're watching, and fortunately, in an awful lot of people found their way to cable, especially at the Republican convention to Fox. The broadcast networks have decided these things have become largely irrelevant.
And the cost of the parties, too. I mean, we found out
that
the
Democratic convention, doesn't it turn out that the government ends up subsidizing these to a tremendous extent?
And all the headaches that come with it, the news stories beforehand about, was labor union used to construct this stadium here or there, and all these sort of upheavals. I mean, the parties have to wonder sometimes if any of this is worth a headache.
Well, there's some really big questions. Number one, if you're going to shrink them, what city wants to be the host if you're not getting the full week of, hotel reservations and everything? They'll probably have to be in the same place.
But that is one of the suggestions, and there was a time back in the 70s when Miami held both conventions. Sure,
you're going to have them in the same place, preferably a place with a domed convention as far as the Democrats are concerned. They don't want to go through that again, a domed stadium. I think that the logistics of this, the expense, the lack of interest, the lack of suspense, are all going to mitigate for much, much shorter.
But I must say this, Mara. We have this conversation every 4 years. I mean, this has been going on, let me just finish, for a long time now. And every 4 years we say, never again, we're never going to do that. And suddenly, 4 years later, we find ourselves...
Except that things are changing. First of all, this is 2 years in a row Republicans have had to shorten it because of a hurricane. The Democrats have completely given up the 4th day. The networks have cut back. I think that we're getting to the tipping point.
Juan?
I found it instructive. I find, to me, when you see the politicians up there, even with the scripted speeches, sometimes they outperform or underperform.
I agree with that.
Now, some people thought that Barack Obama underperformed. I think for some people, they may have thought he's going to come in at the end and he's going to blow them out. He didn't blow them out. But he did pretty good. In some ways, he was competing with himself in 2004 and 2008, and it was hard to match. Okay, but Bill Clinton overperformed. And despite my friend Brit Hume picking on him, that's what I said. What did I say?
Right.
I said overperformed. I said overperformed and overperformed and overperformed.
Well, yeah, but I thought he was effective, and I think,
I did too.
And the fact that more people watched him than watched football, that was incredible.
Which suggests that there's still room for an occasion when the two parties, like lawyers presenting opening arguments in a trial, get to put on their case.
There you go.
Basically uninterrupted by the other side for several days, and let the public take the measure of the two parties and their candidates. So I think there's room for that. But whether they can make a case for 3 days at all.
So what would be the Hume prescription? How would you do the conventions?
Well, I think same city's a good idea for both. All the arrangements are in place. I think that's a good idea. I think let's not try any outdoor stadiums again. That's another idea that really worked once and probably won't work again. And my feeling about that is, what I wonder about is whether back to back is effective for the party that goes first. And if the Republicans don't win this election and they're going to have to go second again, I'm going to go first again. My sense about it is they'd be smart to do theirs well ahead.
Here's my suggestion.
Ronald Reagan got a bounce out of his convention in Detroit that was a month before the Democrats. And he led for the better part of a month, built up a huge lead.
Yeah, but let me just say, historically, what happened was in 2004, Kerry held his convention in July, and they attacked him for a month, and then Karl Rove very smartly delayed it way past. It had always been in late August, and he delayed it till Labor Day week, after Labor Day.
After Labor Day, and
that made all the difference, and that's when everybody just put them together.
Yeah, I think after Labor Day.
Here's my suggestion.
Yes, sir.
Same place, same time, a cruise. We have a cruise. What do you think?
I get seasick, but I can get one of those patches on my ear.
There is actually like a legal aspect of this, right? You can't nominate they're nominating conventions. You have to have all the delegates in the World Cup.
Same thing. Look what the Democrats did with the platform. Did that make any difference? No.
All right, I've completely lost control of this. Thank you, panel. Please check in with us throughout the week. Tell us what your idea is. Should we have conventions? Should we not have them? And if so, how would you change them? Look for my Monday edition of Wallace Unplugged. You can find it right here at foxnewssunday.com. We'll see you back here next Sunday.